Hey there, it's Stephanie Shea, Chief Astrologer for janspiller.com with your June 2024 astrological overview. In my opinion, June might be one of the more stable months of the year. I feel like a lot of the astrology is promoting comfort and harmonious interactions. We're going to have Mars in the sign of Taurus, which really represents slow and steady effort. And even though we could feel inspiration coming from many directions, I think we're going to have the ability to organize ourselves and take a sensible approach. So that's not to say there won't be any tensions in the month of June, because I do feel like by the end of the month, when Saturn stations retrograde, we could get kind of a reality check that shows us maybe there's things to attend to, not to fall asleep at the wheel. It's really best to keep our eyes open all month so we don't slip into denial or complacency. And so just because it feels easy now doesn't mean that we shouldn't be planning for some bumps in the road ahead. But do enjoy it. Try not to, get too paranoid. A rare trine is happening this month. I think this is one of the more empowering astrological aspects, maybe of the whole year. It's between Jupiter and Pluto. And this is something we're going to feel all month. It's just for the month of June. Actually, last month, Jupiter entered the sign of Gemini. If you watch these videos, I recommend watching the May video if you haven't already. And it talks about Jupiter moving into the sign of Gemini. And as it did that, it began to have a trine with Pluto. When we have two planets in a trine, we get the benefit of feeling their energies working optimally together. So this is exact right now as we begin June, and will be complete by the end of the month. So we really need to make the most of the combined forces of these two planets because they're both quite powerful. Jupiter is considered to be a planet of luck and opportunity. And in the sign of Gemini, we could benefit from the connections that we make and our ability to communicate. Now, Pluto is in the early degrees of Aquarius right now, signaling a time to be tuned in to the people around us. And I like to think of Pluto in Aquarius as a power to the people type of energy. We could see effective actions from groups banding together for a common cause, and actually be surprised by the diversity of those who decide to become allies. With Jupiter in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius working together, it's kind of saying, let's transcend certain differences and go for the ideals that we have in common. Maybe we have different ideas about how to achieve these goals, but we actually do have some common goals. In our personal life, we can use the Pluto and Jupiter trine to tap into our support networks and accomplish things with other people that we actually might not be able to do on our own. So I think it's a good month for feeling part of something bigger than ourselves, when we're participating in activities that benefit people besides just ourselves. We actually benefit greatly. It's a really strong month for communities and neighborhoods to solve local problems in constructive ways. And we'll realize we don't need a worldwide influence to change the world. We can start right here in our own neighborhoods, with people one-on-one, and see how that can cause a ripple effects and make a difference in the world. Now, other things to note this month is that there's no inner planets in retrograde. This is pretty cool. Mercury is also going to be in Gemini, the sign that it rules, all month. So it's a really good month to get your message heard and connect with people that might be able to help you achieve a goal. Let's talk a little bit about this solstice. This is always a special time of the year. And this year it's the June 20th solstice in the Northern Hemisphere summer, For our friends down under, it's the winter solstice. But remember, whenever we have a solstice or an equinox, even though it's different seasons worldwide, the astrological energy is the same. So the June solstice always indicates the sun moving into Cancer. And it's ushering in a season that encourages personal connection, emotional awareness, and the ability to tune into our intuition. So, Cancer is a sign representing family. At the solstice, we definitely are supported to spend time with family of origin or any people we consider to be our family. Themes of unconditional love and acceptance are going to be present. This can really inspire us to nurture and uplift the people around us. Cancer season puts less focus on what we can accomplish and directs our energy to notice how the actions we take are making us feel, right? So it's less doing and more being. On a bigger scale, the solstice marks the beginning of a 3-month period for appreciating relationships, and connecting with people on a personal level. So during this season, the seeds have been planted, but it's not really time to do the work of harvesting. It's a phase better for taking a break, enjoying your life. Even when you're at work, take the time to enjoy relationships with coworkers. Now, the day right after the solstice happens to be the full moon. So it's kind of an exciting time right around solstice time. The next day on the 21st of June is a 1-degree Capricorn full moon. So if anyone is a Capricorn baby born right around solstice time, December 20th or 21st, this is kind of your full moon. You might be feeling it the most. Capricorn full moons are really good for your hard work finally coming to fruition. This is for everybody. Capricorn is kind of that long-term ambition, the marathon metaphor. And when the Capricorn full moon hits, it's kind of like the finish line, and it really shows whether you've been putting in the work, the training, or not. And don't get discouraged if you realize you're not where you want to be at this full moon, because it's trying to show you the reality of what you need to get where you want to go. So you can think, okay, if I didn't make my goal, now I can see more clearly. I needed more time. I needed more resources. I needed, whatever it was, some allies. You can get back on track. But for some people, you might see great results because you did have the resources, time. You were able to focus and stick to your goals. So that's coming right up at the solstice time. And as we close out the month, Saturn is stationing retrograde on June 29th. This cycle is going to last until November 15th. Now, Saturn's retrograde about half of every year. So we're not really, thinking this is unusual, but it is noteworthy. During Saturn retrograde, we're more likely to accomplish things by using resources and circumstances that are already available to us. It's not a time to reinvent the wheel. Saturn rules government, business, authority figures, so we can expect to see some organizations restructuring in the coming months. There's also a greater likelihood that existing or proposed laws might be reviewed or up for revision. There can be transfers of power, definitely under this astrology. However, it's more likely that we're going to keep the status quo and the people in charge are going to be pressured to make some changes. So in our personal lives, Saturn retrograde cycles can be a really productive time to shore up our skills, move ahead with determination. We're being called to be more self-reliant in the coming months, and Saturn is in the imaginative sign of Pisces. It could be up to us to come up with ideas needed to accomplish a long-term goal. Or again, our friend denial, it's kind of a theme, I think, for the month. Don't fall asleep. If we've been in denial and failing to see our circumstances realistically, the Saturn retrograde cycle can be invaluable for identifying our limitations and getting ourselves back on track. So Saturn can be our friend. Mars and Taurus we talked about starting on June 9th. That's when Mars moves into Taurus. So I'd say during the first week of June, while Mars is in those final degrees of Aries, people might be feeling extra impatient. So try to channel the high energy vibes that first week in June into something productive, or doing something that's been planned in advance. An impulsive mood makes it more likely to get in over our heads if we're not careful. So try not to just jump in and say yes to some huge opportunity without really thinking it through. Now, the good thing about Mars at the end of Aries, it's very strong. If you need some motivation to take a courageous step forward, especially something you've been just like on the edge and you just need to jump off that diving board, then the first week of the month is the best time to do it. After June 9th, when Mars is in Taurus the rest of the month, a methodical approach is being supported. So you could take the jump the first week and then know, okay, I'm in it, I'm swimming, stroke by stroke. People could be feeling stubborn, but it's definitely not a time to push for what you want. Mars and Taurus, that has that energy. If you start pushing, people push back harder. So it turns into a no-win situation. It's really better to just be quietly determined, set a good example, less talking, more doing. Your actions are going to speak louder than words. And you're probably going to succeed when you stop worrying about what other people think and keep a single focus toward your responsibilities. Comfortable, steady pace. That's the theme of much of this month. Now, Venus, we didn't talk about yet. Venus is going to be in Gemini as June begins. So the first part of the month could feel extra busy. We'll have extra support for important communications. There's a focus on coming to logical conclusions and gathering facts. Venus and Gemini loves that. Reading, getting information. We're going to be wise to look at all sides of a situation rather than trying to stay in our comfort zone. And many of the other planets are triggering our desire for security this month. But when I think about Venus moving into Cancer, we're going to be much more motivated by our emotions. So until June 16th, we've got Venus in Gemini, and that's when I'm thinking we should write down some of our thoughts that will help temper any emotional overreactions that could happen once Venus moves into Cancer. So from June 17th to July 10th, Venus goes into Cancer. This activates our desire for close connection and emotional comfort. And I think we really will be craving some stability. And so this makes it a good time to do nesting, spend time alone, a good time for decorating projects in your house, helping your home feel more inviting. It's also an ideal time for a family vacation, especially if your travels lead you near a body of water. Now, with both Venus and Mercury in Cancer, during the second half of the month, the mood is going to encourage slowing down and enjoying the moment. So try not to pack your calendar because I think you're going to want to really just savor the moment with loved ones. This Mercury in Cancer happens pretty much at the same time that Venus moves into Cancer. So the whole first half of the month, from the 1st to the 16th, just like Venus, Mercury will be in the sign of Gemini. And that's a sign that it rules. So we can expect a socially busy vibe during the first half of the month and use these days to make important phone calls, connect with new people. It might be hard to quiet our minds under this astrology, so make an effort to set aside some time for journaling and anything you can do to release spinning thoughts that are distracting you from your life. Now, on the 17th, same day that Venus moves in Cancer, Mercury moves into Cancer, and that's going to turn our thoughts towards family and nurturing ourselves. I think the pace will slow during the second half of the month, especially as we're leading up to a Saturn retrograde. We're going to be supported to foster our closest connections. If you have important matters to discuss that require some emotional sensitivity, this is really helpful astrology. Now, just be aware, I think when Mercury is in Cancer, people could take things too personally. So choose your words carefully and know when it might be better just to give someone a hug than try to come up with the perfect thing to say, because actually maybe no matter what you say, they would take it the wrong way. So in general, your intuitive senses are going to be heightened. This is for all zodiac signs. And we just need to tune into the vibes we're picking up on. And then I think that will direct us to choose some carefully selected words, again, or just offer a hug or have a loving presence for somebody. Now, the new moon, I didn't mention yet, that's actually earlier in the month. It's on June the 6th, and it is a Gemini new moon. So don't forget, that's the ideal time to set your intentions, especially for areas of life ruled by Gemini. And among other areas, Gemini holds dominion over writing, speaking, mental rapport. Rules sales, tact, social skills, curiosity, formal education, and wittiness. So there's a lot in here. If you have Jan Spiller's book, New Moon Astrology, she offers sample wishes for the new moon in each sign. Very helpful for phrasing your wishes, or I call them intentions, for best results. So don't forget to maximize this. And if anyone is born around June 6th, then this is a big year ahead for you. Lots of new beginnings in store. I hope that you can make the most of this month's astrology. I look forward to seeing you next month with the forecast. And I also encourage you to check out the Jan Spiller website for memberships. We have lots of classes now available, including my webinar series that I'm doing on the North Node. And when you check out the store and look under classes, you'll see the upcoming ones for each month. And I would love to see you there at the webinar. Have a great rest of your month.